All right, I'm MI40 University. Ben Pakulski here with the 3 best intensifiers for maximizing growth. 3 things you may or may not have heard of, but these are the 3 things I use all the time when I'm really trying to elicit growth. Now, the catch here is you have to make sure your current settings are optimal for actually allowing growth. So one thing that's really important to realize in life, growth is never linear. Growth is always cyclical. So it's really important to make sure you're almost scheduling and planning your growth cycles, meaning there should always be a time when you're in a caloric excess where your training is extreme, even a period of overreaching in a caloric excess, and never anticipate it to be like this. It's always going to be like this. So your training always needs to be periodized, always needs to be scheduled, which is why I started coming out with muscle building programs to begin with, because so many people never make progress. You see them for a couple weeks and they make amazing progress, and then they regress so much because they don't know how to periodize it. So the MI40, the MI40X program are amazing ways, and Hypertrophy Max are amazing programs that show you how to periodize your stuff, even within a short microcycle of 6 weeks. And then HMAX actually periodizes over the macrocycle of a year. So back to the intensifiers, making sure that your body has appropriate pre-workout, intra-workout, and post-workout nutrition is probably step 1 in being most vital, and hydration is probably step 2. Then you're looking at minimizing inflammation and making sure you're optimizing sleep. Those are other videos that are coming at you guys in the MI40 University campaign. But I want to show you guys how to optimize 3 muscle intensifiers. So, number 1, mechanical drop sets. What does that mean? You've all seen me do them. You didn't, maybe not have heard that word, haven't heard that term before, but you've seen me do the tricep. If you haven't seen this, check it out on YouTube, and for biceps. There's a particular way where you can extend a set, so increase the time under tension really dramatically, while still working a muscle through its entire active range of motion, without ever changing the weight, but simply adjusting your body position. So you've all seen me do it for biceps, you've all seen me do it for triceps, so now I'm going to show you how to do it for lats. So check this out. So if I move way back here to where you can see this cable is pretty close to being 90 degrees to my arm, that means that's going to be most difficult at that position. Whereas if I'm here, you can all see now, that's a straight line. There's no resistance there at all. I can stand there all day. As soon as I come down a little bit, there's a little more resistance, but maximum resistance is right there. So that's going to be hardest for me to maintain. So I want to use the part of the range that's 90 degrees to the axis when I'm in the most shortened position. So my lats are really short back here. I want to do that at the beginning of the set when I have most energy. So I exhaust this part of the range. And then I'm going to take a big step forward. And now if you look at where's 90 degrees, it's somewhere right in the middle of the range. So now this, as I get back here where I'm actually weak, is actually dropping off a little bit. As you can imagine, this cable, as it gets closer to my, this is actually the axis, as it gets closer to my axis, it becomes lighter. So here it's pretty easy, getting easy. Here it's extremely hard. Here it's dropping off a little bit. So I'm actually able to continue the set. So I've gone to failure at each point in this range. And now if I really wanted to drop off at the back, what would I do? So check this out. If I'm here, that's really hard right there, and basically no resistance right there. So I'm able to do what's called a mechanical drop set, where I'm not changing the weight, just changing my body's ability to produce tension and force. And then from there, I could even go so far as to turn around, produce tension here. So as you can see, it's hardest right there, and that's my range there. So now this is a really lengthened part of the range. Even though the ranges seem to be small, because I've extended from all the way from back here, all the way up here, as you can see, that's a full range for lat, right? That's literally all my lat can do, ever. So I've just done an entire range of lat without ever changing the weight or the exercise. So that's number 1 for intensifiers, learning how to adjust mechanical tension. They're called mechanical tension drop sets. Absolutely probably the number 1 most important way to increase intensity and optimize muscle growth via time under tension and mechanical damage. So number 2, anyone who's done the MI40 Foundation program knows this one. It's by far probably my number 1 growth tool long term. So I've been using this one since 2007. So since even before I got my pro card, and that's called NOS sets. So I coined the term NOS sets in 2009 because I looked at it as a way to overload my nervous system, it's called a neurological overload set. So I'm overloading my nervous system, I'm eliciting the optimal hormonal environment for growth. So as you take your body really far into exhaustion and depletion, your body actually gets this hormonal upregulation, this hormonal cascade that's correlated with growth. So growth hormone, IGF, lactic acid, all these things start to become released the further you get to actual muscular exhaustion. And that doesn't necessarily mean muscular exhaustion at the end of one set of 8 reps, because that's not real muscular exhaustion. And that's where NOS sets really were born, was the idea that, well, how can I take this muscle way closer to exhaustion? And that's what it was. So a NOS set is literally just a quadruple drop set with 20% increments in drops. So if I start at 100 pounds, I do that for 8 reps, and then I do 80 for 8 reps, and then I do 60 for 8 reps, then I do 40 for 8 reps. And by that time, you're pretty much cooked. And if you're not, you may want to even extend the set a little bit with some partial repetitions, still in the appropriate range. Workout intensifier number 3, the newest and most extreme muscle growth ever, NOS-X. So the cell expansion protocol is based around NOS Extreme. And that is very similar to NOS, except we add in the intra-set stretch protocol, which is extremely excruciating, probably the worst I've ever come across for increasing mechanical damage, satellite cell proliferation, and cell swelling. Bananas. So anyone who's ever done the MI40X program, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's excruciating. Putting your body into the most stretched position while still under load, in between intermittent sets of muscle activation and exhaustion. Basically, it almost works like a blood flow restriction type technique, where you're actually trapping blood in the muscle and allowing that blood to just engorge and really cause a massive amount of cell swelling. So those are my 3 favorite muscle building tips and intensifiers for maximizing and ensuring growth. If you can implement those 3 strategically over the week, over the month, and over the year, you're ensuring growth. But be careful, because you never want to do the same one all the time. It's a great idea to change it up. Even the people who follow my programs on the MI40 Nation, I write your monthly programs, but I don't always include all of them. I'll include one here, one there, but I won't always include like every day, every set ends with NOS. Your body doesn't have the capacity to recover from that, for one, but also the more you do it, the less it's going to work, and also you may be predisposing yourself to injury, especially with something like the NOS-X protocol, where it's an extreme stretch. So beware, work hard, make sure your recovery is optimized, otherwise you don't stand a chance. Ben Pakulski, MI40 University, out. I want to take you guys through a very simple conceptual video about bicep training. Think about biceps as having 2 major functions, right? And the one that most people don't think about, and I've done this in some of my other videos, is this.